Good morning, everybody. We're glad that you could make this session. I think it's a really exciting session. And the title of our session is Transforming Data into Value. And that's really, really important, as you will see. So first, you've probably seen all these before, but you need to mute your phone if you haven't already. And then also think about some questions for the panel, because we really do have some world-class speakers here and some really, really experienced and knowledgeable panelists. So, and also please rate the session. That would be a nice number. So that's my subliminal message. So we have, what I would like to do is just give you a quick, very high level, not any details, because we want you to get to the real thing that people came for, which is the speakers. And okay. So anyway, I'm going to talk about the trends and the drivers, the challenges and the benefits, and then I have two use cases. One is going to be about the oil industry and what they're doing with analytics, and the other one is going to be a brewery. And I thought it was going to be from ale to oil, but we switched it around. So now it's probably better, actually, from oil to ale. So, and I know we have a lot of craft brewers here, too, because we found that out last night. So I think it'll be really interesting. You're going to see that there's actually some connections here. So one of the things about getting value from data, and I really think that's the key to everything, is what are you getting out of this data? You're collecting it all. You don't know what you're doing with it. We all heard those things. I remember this plant manager said to me, I'm collecting all this information. We're not doing anything with it. So the thing about it is you're taking all this data, and you get from all these sensors and everything from other sources today, too, as well. And then you're doing some analytics, or you're using a software tool to get value, and that's really what this session is about. And I say that big data by itself is useless unless something's done with it that gives you actionable intelligence or insights that delivers value to the organization. So we've seen a number of industrial drivers, and you've seen all these throughout the sessions the last couple of days. And these, of course, aren't all of them. I mean, there's other things, too, like the Internet of Things. We're seeing things with the convergent IT/OT. There's some sessions this afternoon. Also, the complexity of data is growing. Big data, everybody talks about big data, and what is big data? Most people have big data, in my opinion, in their plants. And how do you manage it all, you know? And collecting all this data and doing something really that brings value to the organization. And also the cloud is one of the enablers and the drivers for this. And also we saw the other day about the new platforms and applications that are being done that can also enable getting value from the data. And so some of the things that we see all the time is that the challenges that people face, and these are just a few of them. There's a lot more challenges. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the one thing that we still see is that people are still using spreadsheets. So how many people, show of hands, use spreadsheets every once in a while? Yeah, like, look, the whole room. You know, we did a survey and not less than that admitted to it. So, and that's the reality of what people are dealing with. But you know what? It's a good tool, but there's better tools today. So you can contextualize and integrate. You need to take all that data and integrate it instead of having it in a silo, because it really can help if you have better collaboration. The other part is we see a lot of the dashboards, spreadsheets, and data. It's just not consistent. And so that takes a lot of time, too, because you need to have that context that goes with it. And then also, really, a lot of times people say they get the insight too late to make that actionable decision. So it needs to be a real-time decision based on real-time data. And that's what really that's one of the things that people look at, or at least get the data fast enough that they can change something and really have an impact on the organization. So one of the things that my friend, colleague, Rick Riss, has worked in over 60 different refineries. He works at ARC. And so I asked him, I said, well, how many points do you have in normally, would you think, in an average refinery? And he said there's about 100,000 points a second. which equates to, at the end of the day, 3 trillion points per year, which if there's 700 refineries, that's actually 4.2 petabytes a year. So that's a lot of data. And if you look at it from the standpoint of all the zeros, a lot of zeros. It's a lot. And that's a year. So you have a lot of data and a lot of value from that data. So data accessibility alone can provide a lot of value. And they estimate that a 10% increase in data accessibility alone can translate into an additional $65 million in net income for a Fortune 1000 company. And that's a lot for most people. So it could be a career changer, too, for some people in this room. So the challenge is where's the data? And there's a lot more than just integrating the data and connecting it and accessing the data. There's a lot more to that, and there's a lot of challenges that people face every day. Like, is it good data? I mean, what are you doing with that data? There's multiple data sources, multiple different types of data. And how do you use analytics on the data? What kind of tools should you use on that data? And also dealing with all these new platforms and architectures that we're seeing. So there's a number of challenges, and I'm not going to get into details because I know you're going to see some of that in these presentations that I think are really world-class presentations today. So moving along, I see a lot of different platforms, and I saw them yesterday, and most of them take and they have a data source where they collect the data from. They have data storage, and then they'll have analytics, and they'll have some kind of visualization, just in a very simple form. And then they take that, and they have some kind of insight. It could be an alert or an alarm, and they do an action because of it, or some kind of a message to somebody. And so, but part of that is, and a lot of the tools have these. They have them in the cloud, they have them on site, they have them on the edge. But the part that's kind of hard, sometimes people tell me, is to take that data, ingest the data, clean it. Like, for example, if you took a process and you were put something in manual, for example, well, you're still collecting data on that process. So now you have all this data in manual. Someone's going around and they're doing some kind of maintenance on something while the process is still running. Well, guess what? Unless you label that data, now you have to do analytics on it. So you have to know, or the analytic tool has to have a way of knowing that that could be data that you don't want to use, as it's not part of your data pattern that you want to use, because that was a maintenance item. So I mean, there's things like that that we see and that people talk about. So anyway, so you need something that, or a data scientist or somebody that really understands that kind of information, maybe the data engineer, that can help you clean that data and make it good data. And a lot of the tools that you'll see today do that. So, and then the other thing that we're seeing, and we've seen in the last couple of days, a lot of different new platforms. You know, we saw the one from Nomura yesterday. I don't know if everybody was in that session, but, you know, they're all gathering data of some sort. And so they all want to have data that's, everything's connected in a perfect world and everything's open and smart. And so that's the future, hopefully. And also the open process automation has their own architecture, and hopefully the two will marry eventually. And then there's people in this room that are going to be speaking about the different products, and they also have different architectures, like OSI Soft, who's on the left side there. And also I put Seeks, and Seeks is interesting, and so is OSI, because they are able to connect. I think OSI has over 450 connectors, and Seek also specializes, you can see that clearly, that they're specializing in the process industry with the connections that they have to the data. So the thing about it is there's a lot of different descriptions and things that I've seen, you know, what kind of analytics is it? People ask that question all the time, or the algorithms and the models. And the thing about it is I see people getting value out of even getting descriptive, what, you know, just something that describes what's happening in the system. Some people, for their application, that's what they need. But other people need something that describes why it's happening. And as we're getting, I think, the new generation of workers, they're not as knowledgeable as the people that kind of grew up with these systems since the 80s. So I think that they want more of the predictive and the prescriptive, and even getting into, and that's tomorrow's session on machine learning. So, and there's a lot of things about getting the value, and it does give you competitive advantage, I think, today, if you get the right tool that's easy to access and get the data that you need to get for your analysis, and it's real-time data that most of these people are going to be showing you today, and it's easy to share and integrate. And so it is about weighing the costs and the benefits and the value that you're going to get. It's not about, and the tool and how you use the tool. So as far as some of the things that we're seeing as far as what's important, the things that we see that are important are the use cases. It needs to be simple, intuitive. The tool itself should be easy to understand, the application tools and the dashboards. And those are things that people keep continuously, constantly say to me. And then you need to have efficiency and performance improvements, and you need to show the value, and you need to measure that value. You need to start looking at modern platforms that are interconnected, interoperable, and secure, and be able to connect and visualize all of this, and also use analytics. And the thing that somebody said to me, a lot of people don't even do this, is you need to identify the business problem first, what you want to solve, and how you can, and what you think that would have some value or impact in your plant. And so somebody said, well, what do you think is the first step? So I said that, and they go, well, you would be surprised how many people don't even know that. So anyway, the value results from integrating data, using analytics, and the resulting intelligence gained from actionable decision-making ROI. And that's pretty much the thing. The thing about the last, I think, and basically transforming data into value. And my last slide is really some of the strategies that people are using, which is they're looking at smart, open, more interconnectivity. They're investing in new technologies, and they're measuring value. And ultimately, the value results from integrating the data and getting that data into actionable ROI. And that's really what everybody's talking about today. Because if you don't show the value to people, and it may not be in dollars and cents, like yesterday someone talked about something where and I figured it out, they went from 30 days to 1 day, they had 9,000 reports that they did for a well fracture, and they were able to reduce it to 1 day, so that's 261,000 days they saved. So that's a lot of, and if you could easily do the math in your head and figure out that's millions of dollars, multi-millions.